wait for the...
I'm on.
You're on, yeah? Sorry. So do you want to explain...
This is where Charles Clymer works, and Natasha Chart is going to tell us
talk to Natasha about
all
what's happening here?
about what's happening in this area.
Why are we here, Natasha?
Why are we here, Natasha?
Why are we here? This is the Human Rights Campaign, which for listeners in the UK is sort of like, is sort of like Stonewall over there, and they are basically the leadership of the LGBT movement in the U.S. and particularly we thought about coming here because some years ago they filed a brief in support of a man who now goes by Michelle Kozilek, who nearly beheaded his wife when he killed her. And the Human Rights Campaign were signatories on a brief to help him get sex reassignment surgery, which would have presumed a transfer to a women's prison most likely. And the brief regarded it as dismissed in a couple lines as irrelevant the concerns of the Department of Corrections that the female prisoners at MCI Framingham were terrified of him, and they had no idea how they would keep either him or them safe. And they were very worried about it, and the Human Rights Campaign didn't care. And as a victim of domestic violence, this just, reading that and finding that out, because I used to donate to this organization. I used to have a monthly sustaining donation to them to support the marriage equality fight. And I felt so unspeakably betrayed that I had been giving to an organization that was supporting these extraordinary privileges for a domestic abuser who had nearly beheaded his wife and left her body in a car park and then went home and had dinner with their son like it hadn't happened. And they signed a brief to get him put in with women in prison when they know that the female prison population is significantly single mothers, significantly poor women, women of color, women who have endured unspeakable abuse. And they wanted him put in with them as a human right. And screw those women's human rights. What about their human rights? What about them who were terrified and they didn't even care, and they claim to represent me as a bi woman, as a woman that they know that women who are bisexual face the highest rates of domestic violence by orientation of any women. And they say they represent us, and that's what they do. That's how they think they're representing us. And they are one of the leading campaigners for the Equality Act in the US, and it's possible that within the next 3 to 4 years the Equality Act will be passed and signed into law, and then that will bring self-identification of gender to all 50 states, overriding all our sex-based rights, forbidding any prison officials from deciding that any man in prison is too dangerous to be put in with women if he says so. And so the time to start organizing amongst ourselves, and you can find out more about what we're doing at womensliberationfront.org. The time to start organizing is now, and now might in fact be too late. And when I say organizing, I don't mean talking in secret groups. I don't mean writing blog posts. I enjoy writing blog posts. I enjoy reading other women's writing. But I mean speaking out in public meetings. I mean holding events. I mean expressing our concern to public officials and to legislators directly, and not just complaining about them on social media and hoping somehow that they will intuit what we want without us having to ask for it. We need to show up and ask for it directly. And I keep hearing that in the course of doing this very necessary public work to protect women's rights, that we are not allowed to talk to a lot of people. But there are certain people that will give us cooties or something if we talk to them, and we may not. Like, we're not supposed to talk to people who oppose abortion. And they don't mean the Democrats who wrote the abortion exclusions into the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you.
They don't mean the Obama administration, which declared the Hyde Amendment a matter of, quote, settled law, overturning 40 years of women's activism in the Democratic Party to try to get our leadership to support abortion rights. We're told we're not supposed to talk to people who push conversion therapy, and they don't mean the people on the left who are sterilizing children for playing with the wrong toys, or wearing the wrong clothes, or being on the autism spectrum, or seeming like they might grow up to be gay. They don't mean that conversion therapy. We're not supposed to talk to people who oppose women's bodily autonomy, and they don't mean the nonprofits who sold feminism to the pimp lobby and the Johns for a song. No one else in politics is required to play by these rules. Organizations like the Human Rights Campaign lobby everyone in DC to ask for what they want. They show up. You can guarantee they've sent lobbyists to the Trump administration. You can guarantee they've sent lobbyists and had constituent fly-ins to have people talk to Republicans in Congress. I can promise you that they have done these things. They're trusted to advocate wherever they go from a deep conviction in their founding principles and to advocate for the interests of their constituents, no matter who they're talking to. And maybe it's because these organizations are run by men and for men that they trust each other to do the right thing no matter where they are. But they still think that we need guardians, we need chaperones, we need to be home by 8. We need political minders. They still want to be able to say what rights we can ask for, even as they work to erase them. Better still, if they can get women in our advocacy to ask for more rights for men. They seem to love that. And when we won't agree, they threaten us, they blacklist us, they demonize us, they get us fired, they stand in front of doors that they've closed to us, and they shout that if they can't have us, no one will. And we've all heard this before, I think. And I think we're all pretty sick of it, pretty tired of hearing that from men. And I think I, and maybe many of you, are pretty sick of having the left treat feminist politics like it's their girlfriend and they're jealous. And we're making male friends they don't approve of, and they're very upset, and they want to check our phones, and they want to read our social media, and they want to find out what we're doing, and they want to stalk us, and they want to threaten us. And I think some of us have been there before, and we don't want to be there again, and we're not going to put up with it. And to our sisters on the left, we know that you're doing important work and putting up with a lot of shouty man babies to do it. And thank God for you. But to you and to women everywhere, get yourselves free. Get yourselves free.
He works here.
I know. There's loads.
Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up!
We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women stand up! We won't shut up! Women
Shut us up! We stand up! You shut us up! We stand up! Alright, great. We're done. Yeah. Woo! So, Natasha Chart gave a really moving account, and then one of the many men that call themselves women at the Human Rights Campaign came out. It seems to be quite endemic. If you look on LinkedIn, there seems to be an unusual number, very high number of men that call themselves women at the Human Rights Campaign. And if we reflect on what happened in the 1970s with Pi, one of the reasons they were very effective in changing everything that we did and tried to change normal people who are overly woke, and try to convince those people that the age of consent maybe needed lowering, or that little boys actually can consent to meaningful sexual relationships with adults, is because they got people in positions of responsibility and they got people in authority, and that's what's happening here. So anyway, I think we've had